Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this is going to be my 9.0 Shadowlands pre-patch Destruction Warlock DPS guide. In it, we're going to be covering the changes to Destruction Warlock heading into Shadowlands pre-patch, essences, Azerite, not really corruption because corruption is going away. However, rotations, everything is changing for pre-patch. We're going to be diving into it here. Any weak auras, profiles, add-ons you are looking for or see here are available to you guys for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, grab them, drop a follow, hang out, ask any questions anytime. So let's get right into it. So when looking at Destruction Warlock in Shadowlands pre-patch, Destruction feels pretty similar to what it has before, but there's also been a few changes that make the Outtro feel a lot better and a lot more fun in a few settings. So starting off here, all Warlocks have access to Curse of Tongues, Weakness, and Exhaustion. Recklessness was a thing until about a month ago in beta where it was removed. All three of these curses are indeed baseline. Demonic Circle has gone baseline as well, which has been replaced by Howl of Terror in the 40 talent throw here. And the final ability here is Fell Domination that is universal across the board. Your next pet summon is reduced by 5.5 seconds, essentially making it a half-second summon. It also costs no soul shard. It doesn't say that here in the tooltip, but it costs no soul shard. It's for free, and it basically has, for the most part, pretty close to an instant cast summon time. Getting into baseline Destro here, not a whole lot has really changed if you look at the toolkit here. You have Immolate being your maintenance dot with a bit of shard gen and a little bit of damage. Incinerate being your filler. Conflagrate being your backdraft, I guess. Just hate, like, faster cast time, haste reduction in a sense. Your filler, essentially, also as well for shard generation. Your use on cooldown ability within reason. Chaos Bolt as your main single target shard spending ability. Rain of Fire for AOE, and obviously Havoc. Havoc is what makes Destruction Warlocks the king of two target cleave in Warcraft. Now, I will say, there are three abilities here. One being Havoc rank 2, I suppose, which you get at level 54, meaning Shadowlands, which increases the duration by 2 seconds. That will not be a thing in pre-patch. To the same extent, Rain of Fire's 10% damage increase buff will also not be a thing. And number 3, your Infernal Awakening deals 100% additional damage and impact. Honestly, they nerfed the crap out of this already. In beta, this is an irrelevant talent for the most part from what I've seen. Regardless, though, Destruction as a whole has a very similar toolkit to where it is on live, but there are a few talent changes that, well, have made things a bit more interesting. So, the first row here, Flashover, Eradication, they're the same thing. Or the same as the way they are currently in BFA right now. Not much has really changed here. The new ability is Soulfire. Now, Soulfire is an ability that we've had for a long time, but it essentially got overhauled for Shadowlands. So it's a 45-second cooldown. The CD reduction we have before pre-patch is no longer around, and it burns the enemy's soul, dealing 3,200 fire damage and applying Immolate, and it generates 1 soul shard. Previously, this used to give an instant cast Incinerate proc instead of applying Immolate. I think that version was much better, but regardless, it is what it is. This ability is indeed Havocable, and it does indeed give you 2 soul shards if you Havoc this ability, versus the 1 being normal single target cast. 25 row here, Entropy, Internal Combustion, and Shadow Burn. Entropy is the same. Internal Combustion is the same. It was initially changed to 7 seconds in early alpha, but it was reverted to 5, and it's a good idea. I will say right now, with low levels of haste, Internal Combustion is not good, and I don't like Internal Combustion, so that's great. But we'll get to talents in a little while here. Shadow Burn has been changed a million times over beta, so we'll just read it as it is. It is affected by haste, currently a 9.1 second recharge, costs 1 soul shard. Blast a target for 1,000 Shadow Flame damage, gaining 50% critical strike chance on targets that have 20% or less health. Now, I don't really know why this is not 100% increased crit on targets below 20%. It just seems sort of odd having a 50% increase, but it is what it is. Restores 1 soul shard if the target dies within 5 seconds. It has a max of 2 charges, meaning it has 2 charges. So there you go. Now, for the most part, I'm still not a huge fan of this version of Shadowburn. I wish it was baseline. I think the Havoc Shadowburn shard sniping playstyle made things a lot more interesting, a lot more fun before, but it is what it is. 35 row here, Inferno. Rain of Fire damage increased by 20% and has a 20% chance to generate a soul shard fragment. I will say, spoilers ahead, the initial Rain of Fire buff was for more than 10%. I believe it was 30. So 30 and 20 made Rain of Fire hit incredibly hard in beta. I will say it was nerfed for 10, but Inferno is still a good call here as a whole. Fire and Brimstone, I believe they increased the shard generation part on this. We're not playing it. Cataclysm. essentially the same. I believe they nerfed the spell power modifier on this in early alpha, but it's still Cataclysm. And for the most part, your choices here are going to be either Cata or Inferno. We'll talk about that more when we get into the more talent choices in a bit here. 40 row, once again, Dark Fury has had its radius increased by 2 yards. I guess Shadow Fury does when you take Dark Fury. They basically tack that on. It has been a bit more relevant than I thought it would be, but for the most part, I mean, it is what it is. If you're taking Dark Fury, you probably just want the cooldown reduction for whatever reason. Mortal Coil being a 45-second cooldown and healing you for 20% of your health, regardless of if the target is in cap or not, is incredibly strong and a very good choice here. Once again, Howl has replaced Demonic Circle because it's gone baseline as well. 45 row. Roaring Blaze received a large overhaul. This is one of those abilities that feels the same, but it's also pretty different for Shadowlands beta, or I guess pre-patch. Conflagrate increases your Soulfire, Immolate, Incinerate, and Conflagrate damage to the target by 30% for 8 seconds. So don't forget that Conflagrate's cooldown is indeed reduced by the amount of haste that you have, and we have 2 stacks of Conflagrate. Now, this ability has changed a lot over beta and over the course of PTR. It was more of a whitelist and blacklist kind of thing when it came to abilities that were being affected by it and not. If you notice, if I change to, it doesn't mention Channel Demon Fire here, but if I change the Channel Demon Fire, it now mentions Channel Demon Fire. So it's more or less a whitelist and blacklisted kind of ability thing. This does not affect Chaos Bolt. This does not affect Cataclysm. This does not affect Shadowburn. It does affect Soulfire. Oh, and it does not affect Rain of Fire anymore. They also broke that. Hey guys, with the Rain of Fire single target build video from a few months ago. So they've changed it. It initially was a flat fire damage increase to your fire spells, but tuning wise, they had to change a few things around. I really wish this did affect Chaos Bolt and other Shadow Flame based abilities, or Shadow Flame, but it makes sense as to why it doesn't, because it would be a tuning nightmare. Reign of Chaos. This talent has replaced Grimoire of Supremacy. When your initial Infernal is active, meaning your player bound Infernal, every soul shard you spend has a 20% chance to summon an additional Infernal that lasts 10 seconds. So what this means is that whenever you drop your Infernal, essentially every shard you spend has a chance to proc another Infernal. Now, this is RNG. If you guys liked VOP Major, great, you're going to love Reign of Chaos. If you didn't, well, you're probably not going to like Reign of Chaos, but you know what? There's an Infernal right there. There's actually 2 Infernals, I believe, right? Yeah, there you go, there's 2. But there is bad luck protection built into Reign of Chaos. I have had windows where I proc 2, 3, 4 very early on. I've had windows where I've only proc 2 and 1 being super late into it. So in the end, RNG is RNG. I will say though, Reign of Chaos is the reason why Warlocks are so strong in huge heavy AoE based settings, Mythic Plus, both in Shadowlands pre-patch and beta. This ability, this talent is incredibly strong. The shard generation you get by spawning multiple Infernals, they give you the same shard generation as your main Infernal does. You have so many shards coming in, which you'll see in a bit here when we talk about talents and eventually rotations. You just spam Rain of Fire. My Rain of Fire record for just rain casts in a row is 24. That's without any spells in between. You just cast Rain of Fire over and over and over. Nobody can beat that AoE damage profile if you get that full 20-30 second window of Reign of Chaos, and I'm being real, even half that at this point is really, really crazy. Reign of Chaos is a really fun talent. It's really fun when you get the procs, and when you don't, well, I mean, well, we've all had that VOP luck. The interesting thing with Reign of Chaos, though, if you're playing VOP Major, we'll get to this in a bit here as well, it doesn't give you an extension to your Reign of Chaos. It gives you a 10-second window. So we'll dive more into that in a little bit, but it's not as OP as like Supremacy extensions for 2 minutes. It's not that much RNG. Once again, Grimoire of Sacrifice is buff damage-wise. It's garbage. We don't play it. 50 row here, Soul Conduit, Channel Demon Fire, Dark Soul Instability. They're all the same here. Playing Soul Conduit with Reign of Chaos and having so many Infernals coming down, casting Rain of Fire, getting the incremental Infernal like shard generation coming in, and casting so many Rain of Fires, having a chance to refund a shard or two, it just stacks and compounds upon itself. Like increased shard gen, a chance to generate a soul shard fragment, multiple Infernals, soul shard refunds. You can see the big loop this makes, the synergy. It's just there. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. Channel Demon Fire. Now, I'll admit, I'll be real, I like Channel Demon Fire a lot. It's the talent we haven't really played for a while. However, with the change to Roaring Blades affecting Channel Demon Fire, it's actually gained a lot of value. So this is certainly something that should be on your radar. Dark Soul instability, it's essentially the same as it was before. You have your 2-minute Infernal still, but you don't have your Supremacy anymore. Grimoire is gone. And the deeper you go into your Reign of Chaos window, I guess you might have more Infernals active, but you don't have that stacking 20 stack of Supremacy anymore to stack, like, you know, the last 5 seconds of Dark Soul are with a max Supremacy 20 stack, where you get all the extra value. That's gone. So in a sense, it's where it devalues Dark Soul, but we'll look at talent combinations essentially right now and get to the bottom of all that for you guys. Hopping right into talents, the first build that I'm looking at here is more of an AoE based build. It revolves around playing Flashover, Reverse Entropy, Inferno, Reign of Chaos, and Soul Conduit. Now, Reign of Chaos, once again, is the new talent we got, which gives us essentially a chance to proc an Infernal whenever we spend Soul Shards. Inferno buffs Reign of Fire's actual damage, and you'll see when we get to the rotation part of this video, Reign of Chaos with Soul Conduit, Inferno, and, you know, spoilers ahead, Lucid Dreams Major, ends up being disgusting. It is truly incredible. If you're looking at a more single target build, the build I'm looking at right now is Flashover, Reverse Entropy, Cataclysm, Roaring Blaze, and Channel Demon Fire. Now, it's important to note here that Corruption is going away in pre-patch, so no more Expedient. Eradication and certainly Internal Combustion lose a lot of value there. Now, in the end, they still might end up simming a bit better. Spoilers ahead here as well, I guess. I don't know if it's spoilers, but they sim better than Flashover Entropy for a while in 8.1, 8.0, 8.2 anyways, but seeing as how Flashover increases conflict rate's damage and conflict rate is increased by Roaring Blaze, Flashover gains more value there. It'll end up being a sim thing, but this is what I'm looking at here. The Roaring Blaze build, increasing Channel Demon Fire, Immolate, Incinerate, conflict rate's damage, is strong when it comes to single targets, but when we get to the rotation part of the video here as well, the Reign of Chaos Soul Conduit build with Lucid Dreams Major might just be strong enough to make that our choice in basically every setting. But if I was looking to forego that or not play Lucid Dreams Major, I would certainly look at this single target build revolving around Roaring Blaze, Channel Demon Fire, and just a more fire-based build of Warlock. If you're looking at essences in pre-patch, for the most part, the two major essences you're going to want to look at are either Vision of Perfection Major or Lucid Dreams Major. Vision of Perfection is one that has a bit more RNG tied to it, but I suppose the highest ceiling due to multiple Infernal procs, the Immolation Aura they bring, extra shard generation, and things like that. Lucid Major is a 2-minute cooldown, but seeing as how your Infernal is also a 2-minute cooldown, and how Reign of Chaos changes things in a sense, Lucid is also a very strong choice as far as majors go. Minor essences. If you're playing Lucid Major, you want to have VOP Minor due to it giving you a 2-minute Infernal build when also playing the Crashing Chaos trait. Other minors that are good are Breath of the Dying, Conflict and Strife. If you don't have those, Iris Minor is okay, or I suppose Crucible of Flame, other damage-based essences. If you're playing VOP Major, you want to have Lucid Minor, then most optimally Breath of the Dying and Conflict Minor. Once again, if you don't have those, then Iris Minor, Crucible of Flame, or other damage-based ones are acceptable as well. As far as Azerite is concerned in pre-patch, it is still staying around, just like Essences. So, for Destruction Warlock, not a whole lot is really changing. There's not a trait that gains a tremendous amount of value comparatively to before pre-patch. Flashpoint is still exceptionally strong for us, just like Rolling Havoc in Nilotha, seeing as how pretty much 10 out of 12 fights are exceptional Flashpoint and Rolling Havoc fights. Crashing Chaos, to a similar extent, is also a trait that we're interested in acquiring at 1 stack due to the Infernal cooldown reduction that it brings. Pairing that, like I mentioned, with Vision of Perfection Minor gives you essentially a 2-minute Infernal, seeing as how your font is still around and still 2 minutes, Lucid Dreams sinking, everything else. That 2-minute damage profile on your Infernal is just so much better than a 3-minute Infernal. It really makes it feel like you're playing a different spec. That's more or less what I look at when it comes to Mythic Plus or Nilotha Cleave-based bosses. If you're focusing on more of a single target build, they did end up changing Heart of Darkness to no longer require Corruption. However, the secondary stat weights seem to have been reduced by a decent bit proportionally from where it was before. Bursting Flare, Chaotic Inferno, Chaos Shards, and, I mean, to a certain extent, Flashpoint are still solid options when it comes to single-target Destro, but for the most part, like I mentioned, Destro excels in 2-target cleave AoE-based scenarios like Plus and most of Nilotha. So rolling Havoc Flashpoint and that one Crushing Chaos trait, can't really go wrong there. So if you're playing the Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, Inferno, not Cataclysm, Inferno build here, with Lucid Dreams as your major, the damage profile you bring every 2 minutes, because in pre-patch we still do have VOP Minor, Crushing Chaos, 2-minute Infernal, and all that. The damage that you bring is truly insane every 2 minutes when you pop your Lucid Dreams in your Infernal window. So for the most part, what I'm going to do, we're still playing Font, we're going to open up here, that's fine. We'll put a few immos up, and then we're just going to go right into this. I'll roll all 4, why not? We'll roll some immos. Then drop your Infernal. I pop Lucid right now. Cast a Rain of Fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24 is my record for Rain of Fire casts in a row. And you can see the damage you bring is just insane. There's no class in the game that's probably going to touch you with Lucid Dreams Major and Reign of Chaos at this point. The damage you bring is truly just incredible. Now, it might seem a bit excessive, and to a certain extent, well, it probably is, because you're probably not going to be getting a full 30-second window of all of that Reign of Chaos, Reign of Fire value in Mythic Plus. Now, there's been a bit of debate if you want to pop your Lucid Dreams earlier into your Havoc or into your Reign of Chaos window or popping it later. I feel, logically, I think it's better to pop it earlier, because when you pop it basically after you drop your Infernal, I'll drop Infernal, Lucid, cast Rain of Fire. So, depending on refunds there, like, if we get another Infernal that procs early on, great. You have more shards faster, you can start spamming Rain of Fire faster and faster. But early on, you don't have 3, 4, 5 Infernals rolling, so I feel like even just having one and getting the Lucid Dreams Major effect, basically 0.2 shards back per tick, instead of increased charging early on, fuels more Rain of Fire cast earlier, which means more Infernals earlier. And then it just goes downhill from there faster and faster and faster, and you have 6, 7, 8 Infernals rolling, Reign of Chaos rolling for days. The build is truly, truly insane. My record is 24 Rain of Fire cast in a row. We actually came pretty close there, but with this, at this point, once your immolates drop, there's no point in refreshing there. You're sitting at 5 shards permanently. With Soul Conduit, Reign of Chaos, all the Infernals giving extra shards, the refunds that Inferno gives for potential, like, partial ticks of Rain of Fire, it's just insane. No class in the game I don't feel can touch Destro's 2-minute Reign of Chaos Inferno window when it comes to sustained AoE. So if you decide that the Lucid Dreams Major, I guess, version with Reign of Chaos of Destro is not really your style, well, good news is that you can still play Vision of Perfection Major with Lucid Minor and still have some pretty insane shard refunds in a Reign of Chaos window. The thing here with Vision of Perfection for Destro, Supremacy is gone, so there's still RNG, obviously, in Reign of Chaos procs and VOP procs, but Supremacy is gone, so you're not hoping for Infernals to proc in your main Infernal, giving you a minute, 2 minutes of Supremacy. If you proc a VOP Infernal outside of your Reign of Chaos, it gives you a 10-second Reign of Chaos window. Depending how this poll goes here, watch my buffs, you might be able to see it. It does not refresh Reign of Chaos if you're in your main Infernal window, and it does not give you an extension if you proc a VOP Infernal in your Reign of Chaos. Even if you proc a VOP-based Infernal for the 10-second duration and proc another one in that same, like, mini window, it doesn't extend that. It doesn't even give you another refresh. It doesn't give you anything. So there appears to be a bit of a DR on, I guess, the proc of Reign of Chaos when you have VOP. But let's take a look here. So we'll do the same thing again. We'll font, get our immos rolling, why not? And then immolate all these. Drop my Infernal, cast the Rain of Fire. So we're not going to have insane charge in here, but we still can launch a decent bit of spells. We still have Lucid going. There's that. There's an Infernal proc there. It actually did extend my Supremacy, or Reign of Chaos, which is crazy. It actually wasn't doing that until its most recent PTR build. That's actually pretty crazy. So there is a bit of Supremacy RNG in there. But I want to try and proc an Infernal outside of VOP, or outside of Reign of Chaos. Okay, well, there's a 50-second extension. I'll be real with you, I actually don't know what's going on. We went from 10 seconds or 18 to 50 on Reign of Chaos. Let's just see where this goes. How do we proc 3 Infernals at once? I don't... Oh, we have 2 minutes of Reign of Chaos. What is going on? I actually have no idea. I swear, I had this video structured in a way to show you the way Reign of Chaos worked, but I guess they changed it in this week's build. So TLDR, if you want a permanent Reign of Chaos window, well, I guess you can just play VOP Major Destro with Reign of Chaos and just pray for procs. Like, let's see if we can get another proc here. So we still have 30 seconds left on Reign of Chaos. Infernals are procking, but these are from Reign of Chaos. It's not a VOP Infernal. A VOP Infernal appears to extend the Reign of Chaos window. Let's see if we can get any more procs here. We're at 16 seconds left. I'm not watching my shard generation with T here either, boys. Like, there might be some mistakes in this rotation. It's gonna happen. Like, any refunds? Anything? Anything? Any procs? One final chance? One final chance? I actually have no idea what happened there. It appears that they changed it so VOP Infernals in your Reign of Chaos are indeed now extending your Reign of Chaos window, similar to how they worked with Grimoire of Supremacy. I want to see if we can proc an actual Infernal here outside of this window and see if it gives us a Reign of Chaos window. So let's just start casting a few spells and see what happens. Once again, this is not like an optimal rotation. Fat finger my font, that's okay. There, so there's a 9-second Reign of Chaos proc. But that's just super odd, so I guess it is indeed extending again, which is crazy. Well, alright, there you go. So basically, Destro has that 2-minute Infernal window with Lucid, Infernal, and to be fair, that AOE is just utterly insane. I still think for a half a minute, that sustained AOE is much, much, much better than what you're going to get in, you know, VOP Infernal windows with Reign of Chaos proccing randomly. If you want a more consistent, I guess, Infernal-based setup, then, hey, at the same time, it looks like they fixed the VOP Reign of Chaos interaction. So, there you go. We have choices. And, in the current state of WoW, that's not a bad thing. Okay, so now that you've seen how Lucid, Major, and apparently VOP with Reign of Chaos works, I did want to mention briefly, as far as your normal AOE rotation goes, whether you really have CDs or not, for going insane procs, you're pretty much going to just maintain immolate on however many targets you have, as long as you're going to get immolate value out of it, which means as long as the target doesn't die within a few seconds, it's worth either putting up your immo or refreshing. Now, if you have like 4 shards, you're getting close to capping, okay, cast a Rain of Fire. If you're looking for like priority funnel damage, then casting Chaos Bolt is still your best bet. But the thing is, you can see here with Reign of Chaos, you get really close to overcapping on shards, even with our immolates dropping here. So it's sort of a play it by ear, feel it out kind of thing. It might not be as much like priority damage spamming Rain of Fire as it is like casting Chaos Bolt. So if you really need to kill a mob, hey, put up your Havoc, launch some Chaos Bolts, and then use the extra shards in between as far as generation goes for Rain of Fire cast to supplement your Reign of Chaos window. But if you just want big AoE damage, just put up your immos, drop your Infernal, cast Rain of Fire. Outside of that, if you don't have Infernal, for the most part, you just end up maintaining your immolates, going into your Havoc window when you have the chance, and if you're getting close to capping on shards, or once you're AoE, there you go. For the most part, Reign of Chaos or Reign of Fire is going to be a gain at 3 or more targets, and once again, a priority mob, just put up your Havoc, you can focus it down with bolts, and there you go. So if you're looking at single target Destro for Shadowlands pre-patch, the build that I've been playing is Roaring Blaze, Channel Demon Fire, Cataclysm, and then Flashover Entropy. Now, we are losing Corruption in pre-patch, so Eradication and Internal Combustion are going to lose a lot of value because Expedient's going away. However, Flashpoint will still be a thing, so that's more or less going to depend on what happens with Sims. Not a whole lot really changes there. You just end up rolling Eradication IC if that ends up being the play for the most part. As far as single target damage is concerned, what I've really been doing is just precasting my font and following the same opener. I'm playing Lucid Dreams Major here, just precasting my Kata, going into my Infernal, popping this, and go right into a Channel Demon Fire. And then you just sort of end up dumping shards. Do what you normally do. Cast your Chaos Bolt, your Con Flags, fail when you need, pop my Lucid, about 20 seconds left in my Infernal, and just go from there. Now, the one thing that gets tricky here is you still have to try and weave in your Channel Demon Fire cast with all your shard gen going. And for the most part, we're doing a pretty good job here. But depending on refunds, things can get, you know, a little hairy. We no longer have Supremacy around, so you're not worried about like max stacking everything to 20 stacks and saving all your CDs for the very, very end of your Infernal. But still, I feel that Lucid Dreams does get you more overall value in your Infernal. more Chaos Bolt cast, just more consistent damage every 2 minutes. You could play VOP in this spot. I don't think it would really be that bad. Once again, Conflag going to the Channel Demon Fire. I don't really think it would be that bad. It's just that I feel Lucid offers more value when you're playing single target Destro. And with Supremacy VOP RNG being removed, well, we'll see where that goes, because technically, as we saw a bit ago, Reign of Chaos is now being extended by VOP, where it wasn't previously. But regardless, for the most part, it's the same rotation. You maintain your Immolate, Incinerate is your filler, you cash Conflict Rate. For the most part on CD, as long as you're pretty consistent with the cast, it should line up pretty much with every Channel Demon Fire. So, and once again, also Cataclysm on CD as well, even if your Immolate is outside of Pandemic range. Now, one big thing here, I'll wait for my Conflict Rate to stack back to 2, is that with Flashpoint being a thing, our Conflag cooldowns around like 7-ish seconds depending on haste procs and all that, because it's affected by haste. So what you can do here, Roaring Blaze just straight up gives you a buff called Conflict Rate, and that is the fire damage increase. What you can do is you can Conflag, and seeing as how Roaring Blaze also affects Conflag's damage, you can Conflag again right before it drops to get that 30% increase to that second Conflag's cast time or damage. Now, there's sort of 2 different schools of thought here. One being you should hold your Conflag until the previous one drops for a higher Roaring Blaze uptime. And the other is that you should clip every other Conflict Rate because of, one, flashover damage, just straight up increasing Conflict Rate's damage, and then Roaring Blaze doing the same. I'm in the school of thought where you clip every Conflag. For the most part, in pre-patch, with how much haste we had, even losing Expedient with Flashpoint, you're still going to have a pretty high uptime on it. And at a certain point, it's probably going to drop for a few seconds. You might have to pull for a few seconds. You can still dump Chaos Bolts in that window, and Chaos Bolt's not affected by Roaring Blaze. So I'm firmly in the school of clipping every Conflag right when it's about to drop, very similar to how Cascading Calamity works for Affliction Warlocks. Now, there is one final thing that I want to touch on here for Destruction Rotations, and I'm sure it's going to be a question that I would get a lot if I didn't, and that's casting Rain of Fire single target. So if you notice here, I've changed from Roaring Blaze to Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit. I'm keeping Cataclysm because it's fine. But whether you're playing Cataclysm or Inferno in Mythic Plus or Raiding, or you're on just a single target boss, it's important to note that while Reign of Fire in a Reign of Chaos window is not as strong as a Chaos Bolt cast on one target, if you're capped on shards, it's more important to spend those shards to try and proc more Infernals. More Infernals, more Immolation Aura, more shard generation, just more damage, versus sitting at 5 shards being maxed out for, I don't know, half a minute or so. So we'll go into a single target opener here. Once again, we're playing Reign of Chaos. We'll drop our Kata, Infernal, bam, there we go, pop this. And we'll start limping shards here. We'll actually pop our Lucid too. See if we can get some Infernal procs. Bolt. We'll start limping bolts here, Infernal, and we're already capping. Like, we're already capping at a certain point. I mean, this is playing Lucid, so there's only so much you can do, right? Because you're going to cap at a certain point, but like, look, we're capped at 5 shards forever, and look at how fast we're regenerating. Like, there's only so much you can do, and I'll be real with you, hey, this is still a pretty good bit of damage outside of CDs and barely paying attention. So, it's a bit excessive here, because we popped Lucid, but even without it, you still want to cast your Rain of Fire if you're capped on shards in a single target window. Because if you look at our damage breakdown, Immolation Aura is still a massive portion of our damage. A lot of this bolt damage is actually after we ended up sort of backing off here. But Rain of Fire made up essentially half of Chaos Bolt's damage. And it took essentially 0 seconds, only a GCD every cast to cast a Rain of Fire. And that gave us so much more Immolation Aura damage versus just sitting at 5 shards forever. So while you don't want to straight up cast Rain of Fire single target if you're not capped on shards, in a Reign of Chaos window, if you're capped on shards and your Chaos Bolt's taking forever to cast, sitting at 5 shards is not the play. Dump some Rain of Fires and have a good time. Now, I think it is worth mentioning that was the single target build of Destro in Shadowlands, and for the most part pre-patch, theoretically is based around Roaring Blaze and Channel Demon Fire. We haven't really had as much time to test in pre-patch with Essences working and this new Reign of Chaos window and all of that being taken into account. So there's a real possibility that Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, or Reign of Chaos X, whether it's, if you're playing Reign of Chaos, you're probably either playing Soul Conduit or Dark Soul, ends up being the best single target build, just spamming Reign of Fire in that window, trying to proc more Infernals. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being the best single target build at all. yeah, Chaos Bolt doesn't hit exceptionally hard. It is still your main single target spender, but when you're proccing so many Infernals just back to back to back to back, who cares how hard Chaos Bolt hits? Immolation Aura is 70% of your damage. Okay, maybe like 40, 30-ish, but it's still a lot. And while Rain of Fire might not hit as hard as Chaos Bolt, it's an instant cast spell, and it spends 3 shards versus 2. And with Soul Conduit, there's more of a chance for more refunds, and you can proc 2 Infernals off of Rain of Chaos, by the way. Each individual shard is checked for if it procced Rain of Chaos. So there might end up, the single target build might end up being Rain of Fire spam in a Rain of Chaos window. I think a lot of that, the majority of that really is just because of Lucid Dreams, if you're playing that single target. Without Lucid, nah, VOP, you just end up maintaining your Chaos Vault dumps and all that. If you're capping on Shard, sure, still put up a Rain of Fire. But if you're playing Lucid, Rain of Chaos, and Soul Conduit, that might just end up being the best build everywhere. Single target to AoE. It's just really, really, really good. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video gave you all a better understanding of just how Destruction Warlock looks heading into Shadowlands pre-patch and 9.0. Now, like I said, once again, corruption is indeed going away, but I'll be real with you, Destruction Warlock still looks pretty good. With the Shadowlands release date being pushed back, we're going to be in pre-patch longer than we had initially anticipated, and Flashpoint, Rolling Havoc, Warlock still looks really good in Nilotha. The Lucid Dreams major AoE Rain of Chaos, Rain of Fire build is incredible, and with a 2-minute Infernal, your damage is pretty much, I'd say, unbeatable in said window. And at the same time, hey, Vision of Perfection is still Vision of Perfection. If you like RNG, there you go. Once again, any weak ORS profiles, add-ons you've seen here are available to you guys for free on my Twitch. You want to swing by, drop a follow, hang out, grab them anytime. They are there for you guys for free. If you want to see more content, be sure to smash the subscribe button below. Hit that like button right down there as well. Thanks again, dudes. Let me know what you guys think of how Deshro is looking in the comment section below in pre-patch. And honestly, with there being a bit of time before Shadowlands releases, any changes you guys might want to see, because there's still hope. Thanks again, dudes, and I'll catch you guys all again soon. Peace.